Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parijakacharya Stasto Shishimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parijakacharya Stasto Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from 3rd Canto, Chapter 27, Text 2. Sa eṣaḥ yarhi prakṛter guṇeṣu abhiviṣajjate ahaṅkriyā-vimūḍhātmā kartāsmīty abhimanyate. Sa eṣaḥ yarhi prakṛter guṇeṣu abhiviṣajjate ahaṅkriyā-vimūḍhātmā kartāsmīty abhimanyate. Sa eṣaḥ yarhi prakṛter guṇeṣu abhiviṣajjate ahaṅkriyā-vimūḍhātmā kartāsmīty abhimanyate. Sa eṣaḥ yarhi prakṛter guṇeṣv ahaṅkriyā-vimūḍhātmā kartāsmīty abhimanyate sa eṣaḥ yarhi prakṛter guṇeṣu-abhiviṣajjate vimūḍhātmā Vaishnavis. Sa eṣaḥ yarhi prakṛter guṇeṣu-abhiviṣajjate ahaṅkriyā-vimūḍhātmā kartāsmīty abhimanyate. Sa, that very living entity, eṣaḥ, this, yarhi, when, prakṛteḥ, of material nature, guṇeṣu, in the modes, abhiviṣajjate, is absorbed, ahaṅkriyā, by false ego, vimūḍha, bewildered, ātmā, the individual soul, kartā, the doer, asmi, I am, iti, thus, abhimanyate, he thinks. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki. When the soul is under the spell of material nature and false ego, identifying his body as the self, he becomes absorbed in material activities, and by the influence of false ego, he thinks that he is the proprietor of everything. Purport. Actually, the conditioned soul is forced to act under the pressure of the modes of material nature. Living entity has no independence. When he is under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is free. But when, under the impression that he is satisfying his senses, he engages in sense gratificatory activities, he is actually under the spell of material nature. In Bhagavad-gītā, it is said, prakṛteḥ kriyamāṇāni, one acts according to the particular modes of nature he has acquired. Guṇa refers to the qualities of nature. He is under the qualities of nature, but he falsely thinks that he is the proprietor. This false sense of proprietorship can be avoided simply by engaging oneself in devotional service under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his bona fide representative. Arjuna in Bhagavad-gītā was trying to accept for himself the responsibility for killing his grandfather and teacher in the fight. But he became freed from that proprietorship of action when he acted under the direction of Krishna. He fought, but he was actually freed from the reactions of fighting. Although in the beginning, when he was non-violent, unwilling to fight, the entire responsibility was upon him. That is the difference between liberation and conditioning. The conditioned soul may be very good and act in the mode of goodness, but still he is conditioned under the spell of material nature. A devotee, however, acts completely under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Thus his actions may not appear to be of a very high quality to the common man, but the devotee has no responsibility. Translation again. When the soul is under the spell of material nature and false ego, identifying his body as the self, he becomes absorbed in material activities, and by the influence of false ego, he thinks that he is the proprietor of everything. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In the material platform, the living entities have this idea of freedom, that as long as I can exercise my faculties, my senses, in contact with the sense objects, I'm free. I have freedom. Living in 21st century, 2024 in LA, people think that we are free. We are living in a free nation. We have freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom to vote. You can choose which government comes into power, or they think they can choose. We have the sense of freedom that we can do whatever we want. We can choose the different kind of cereals we have for breakfast, different types of devices that we want to use, different places we want to eat out, have fun, enjoy. So yeah, we have freedom. But over here we are reading, no, living entities have no independence. Actually, they are forced to act under the pressure of the modes of material nature. And so it takes some knowledge and realization to understand how living entities are bound and conditioned into their activities. Because ordinarily one can think that, yeah, we have so much independence, we have so many options, so many varieties that we can choose from in our pursuit of sensual indulgences. But when we come in contact with Krishna's teachings, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-gītā, we realize how much conditioned we are and how much of our actual freedom is taken away by the illusory energy. As you all know, would have heard about what the function of illusory energy is. The illusory energy has two main potencies. Number one potency is to cover the knowledge of the living entity, to make them forget that they are part and parcel of Krishna, that they are spiritual in nature, which is called aviranatmika shakti. It makes us forget our real connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and makes us think that we belong here, this is our home. That's number one, to cover the knowledge of the living entities. And number two, potency of illusory energy is to throw the living entity into the ocean of material existence, which is called prakṛteḥ shakti, the potency of throwing the living entity into material existence. And so, in material association, or for practitioners who don't have good association, they eventually, under the influence of this potency, starts to think, what am I trying to do here? Chant Hare Krishna and trying to be all spiritual. What am I, a saint? Come on, get real. Have to go out there, make some money, be successful, real success. And under this influence of this potency, one slowly starts to slack off in their practices and off they go, gets thrown away in the material existence. And so one has to recognize the presence of illusory energy, that we are surrounded by this Maya potency, which is always covering our knowledge and is throwing us into material existence away from Krishna. As we have heard that material world is forgetfulness of Krishna. We're actually living in an ocean of forgetfulness. We're always forgetting. Can't even remember what we did a week ago, same time, the same day. And so we have so much pride and arrogance over our faculties. But look that we can't even remember anything. And that's why we have to every day stay in contact, stay in association of the Shastra, of the practitioners who are endeavoring on the path of self-realization. Once we understand that there is an illusory energy around us, which is actually governing our actions, which is dictating the way we act, then one becomes vigilant into analyzing how much freedom do I actually have. Because again, ordinarily, one could think that we have freedom. I can choose so many things in my life, what career I want to take, what kind of relationship I want to get into, what kind of job, what kind of car I want to drive, what clothes I want to wear, what I'm going to eat for dinner, and so on and so forth. So many varieties, so much freedom. But we read, living entity has no independence, not even tiny, no independence, because we are just acting under the modes. And so, when we slowly become purified therapeutically by the process of Krishna consciousness, we actually start to realize that that actual freedom lies in our spiritual life. The more we endeavor in executing Krishna conscious activities, the more we become free. Because our problem is, we usually have this tendency that the more we are bound by rules, by regulations, by authority, the more we are not freed, the more we are have all these obstacles in our place of exercising our free will, the more we are bound, we are restricted. And so, no rules, no regulations, no authorities, just do whatever you want to do is actual freedom. But no, actual freedom lies when we start a life of discipline or a life of regulation. Why is that? Because we start to become aware of how our actual freedom is taken away by the illusory energy. Just like maybe before coming to Krishna consciousness, we had no idea of what sense gratification is, although we indulged in it all the time. Spending 30, 40 minutes, an hour, multiple times a day on just flittering on social media or spacing out. We would waste so much time and we think we have real freedom. But over here we read that actually when one acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he becomes free. And so it might take us a while to understand this idea of how a life of regulation, a life of discipline, a life surrounded by guidance from authorized, from bona fide representatives of Krishna, the more we can become freed from this network of illusory energy. Otherwise, we'll be just spacing out, we'll have, in the name of freedom, we'll be bound up and we'll be forced to act under the modes of nature. It's like a person driving on the road might think, why there's so much rules and regulations? Why do I have to yield to other cars and stop on signals? Why can't I just drive the way I want? That will be real freedom on the road. Just can go from one destination to another, fastest way is just not follow any rules. And so similarly, when we come to spiritual life, or a beginner might think in that way, why there's so many rules and regulations in spiritual life? Why can't we just be spiritual in the way we want to be spiritual? No, we are fooling ourselves. We are not just fooling ourselves, we are also being destructive in our progress, because living that kind of lifestyle will only do harm to us. And so when we understand how the senses are dictating our actions, governed again by the illusory energy, we then start to realize how much imprisoned we are within our body and mind. I remember I had this idea in the beginning of seeing all the practitioners, seeing their or hearing their sadhana, their spiritual practice, chanting 2 hours, reading 2 hours. Like, I used to think spiritual practice is good, meditation is good, but for 2 hours, come on, get real. You can be doing so many other things in 2 hours, can be so much productive. You can get so many things done. Try to think of how you can be good in school or make money, expand business, this or that, the other. Meditating for 2 hours, reading for 2 hours, come on, it's like waste of time. But eventually it dawned on me, and it's still dawning on me, of how the more we actually immerse ourselves in the sound vibration of the Krishna mantra, the more we have more time in our hand to do things for Krishna's satisfaction. Otherwise, with our dull-headed minds, we spend hours and hours just sitting, on our couches and thinking that we are doing something, but not really. I remember when back in high school, I would just, because being in India, you have to study very hard right from the high school time so that you can prepare for college, can go to top university, so on and so forth. So you have your high school studies, but then you also have your extra tuition that you are studying for to prepare for these high competitive universities. And so you're on an average, at least back in the days, an average teenager would be studying in high school at least 8 to 10 hours outside of school, because they want to be competitive. They want to make sure they have the advantage over the others in their preparations. And so I remember just holding the book in the hand, and half of the time I would just be looking in the sky, watching birds, or just spacing out. But in the name of studying, in the name of gotta exceed. But that's how life goes. We just this way or that way. We just space out. But we realize how over here, as we are reading, that the spirit soul is bound, is restricted in their actions. And in the name of thinking they are doing activities, they are the controllers, they are the movers, it is actually being done by the modes of nature. As Prabhupada quotes, prakṛteḥ kriyamāṇāni guṇeṣv sarvasa, that the living entity is influenced because of the false ego, thinking himself the doer of activities, thinking that, if I don't do anything, it won't work. I have to make the moves. I have to actually move things around in this physical manifestation to get what I want. And this is false ego. The function of false ego is to make us think like that we are the doer, we are the controllers. If we don't do anything, then nothing will happen. Our happiness is in our hands. But actually, all our activities under the modes, all our activities in material plane are conducted by the modes of nature. So we have to understand and realize that our real position, our constitutional place is being part and parcel of Krishna. We are connected with Krishna. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We have to understand that the place that we are living in is not really our home. It's training grounds for us to master and become expert in giving Krishna pleasure, because that's our true nature. Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishnair Nityadas. And this is our innate identity to serve Krishna. Of course, in perverted atmosphere, we are serving so many things, as Prabhupada would often say. Serving our family, serving our employer, serving the nation, or serving our dog, our pets, or if not anything, we are serving our own senses and our mind. But the actual service has to be redirected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And that's where lies real happiness and real fulfillment. That's where lies real freedom. But because of our material fever, we think, oh, we gotta endeavor in this world and we're gonna make this place a very nice place for our comfort. Gonna endeavor into making money, pursuing what we want to pursue, and that will give us happiness. That will give us satisfaction. That will give us security. But pursuing material activities in a material world is like building a home in a layover in an airport where you are just having a layover. You imagine you're flying from LA to New York, you have a layover of 40 minutes in Baltimore, and you decide, okay, let's find a place in this airport where I can get some land, rent a shop. I'm gonna start something. I'm gonna start a business, start making money. But sir, you have only 40 minutes. What you gonna do? That's the kind of idea we have. We think, oh, we have 60 years, 70 years of life. I'm gonna make this place a place where I can feel comfort, I can feel security, I can feel happiness. But actually, that's foolishness, because according to the Vedic standpoint, 70 years, if one is able to live 70 years nowadays, is a minuscule, is a blip in the cosmic journey of the living entity. But again, unless one comes in contact with the Shastras, how will one realize all these things? Because we are the being in material atmosphere. It's natural to forget. It's natural to think that we belong here. And that's why we have to take shelter of Krishna, and more than that, take shelter of the devotees of Krishna, because without the association of the practitioners, one can easily get swept away by the illusory energy. Because it's not that the illusory energy is not working for the devotees. The illusory energy is always trying to exercise its two potencies to throw the living entity away in the material existence and covers its knowledge even for practitioners. And so unless we guard ourselves through our spiritual practices, through our association, it will become difficult for one to stay in devotional service, to continue one's bhakti practice over the long run. And so I remember before becoming really serious, I'm still trying to be serious in Krishna consciousness, but before I kind of got a milestone where like, yeah, I'm serious about this, 16 rounds, follow the 4 regs. Because I was reading Prabhupada's books for 4 years without any association, I was very much convinced about the philosophy that, yeah, it makes sense. who would think that they are these bodies? Who would think that the minds, the whole package of the material body is us? And so the idea of reincarnation, having multiple lives, changing bodies, resonated with me a lot. And then eventually, after 4 years, I started to think, yeah, we have so many lifetimes, we have done so many things in the material existence. Same thing, you go one part of the world to another part of the world, same trees, mountains, sky, buildings, what's new? And so I started to think, what if we decide to give one life to Krishna and see what will happen? We've already done so many things in the material existence. We have tried to enjoy this way, enjoy that way, on this planet or that planet, this body, that body. Might be worth a shot. Just give one life to Krishna and see what happens. If Krishna is just some fantasy, some mythology, then haven't really lost anything, because we'll have another life, can do some other whatever activities we want to do in our next life. And so I think that kind of mindset really got me to go full on in my bhakti immersion. And I'm still trying to go more deeper, but why can't we accept this idea of giving one life to Krishna? Why can't we just accept the fact that our plan-making factories on a material plane is not really yielding any substantial rewards, not really giving us any fulfillment? Actually, when you thoroughly look at our situation, there's no difficulty. It's very easy to come to this conclusion, to give one life to Krishna and see what happens. Just by meditating and realizing that first instruction of Krishna in the Bhagavad-gītā, in chapter 2, Dehunasmin yatha dehe, that we are not these bodies, we are changing bodies from boyhood to youth to old age. One can come to a conclusion that, yeah, if we are not these bodies, if we don't belong to this material plane of existence, and if Krishna is for real, then let's give it a try, let's give it a shot and see what happens. And actually, if you look at the past, if you look at the historic records, you will see that people who actually gave their life to Krishna, who actually sacrificed their energies, their youth, their everything for Krishna, their life became filled with miracles and adventure. It's like I was hearing Prabhupada memories of Shyam Sundar Prabhu when they were trying to open a center in London and they had no rent to pay for the next month for the facility that they were doing the programs. And then one day as they were walking down the street, all of a sudden they saw this bills flying in the sky, and they just started collecting it, and eventually they got the exact amount of money that they needed to pay the rent. And so when we take up this sacrifice attitude, the attitude of giving everything to Krishna, just one lifetime, we see that our life completely changes. Sacrificing for Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they make, when we sacrifice for them, they make our life blissful and adventurous. As Lochan Das Thakur says, Kevala Ananda Khanda, that the path of bhakti is full of ananda, is full of bliss and happiness. Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana, Nitai Gaura Chandra, that these two lords Nitai and Gaur Chandra are very merciful. And so even thinking about how we can sacrifice for these two brothers, how we can act in a way that we please them. Just that act of thinking will please these two brothers. Just a little bit of sacrifice. How we can engage our life, our health, our wealth, our intelligence, our words, prana, artha, diya, vacha, under the guidance of representative of Krishna, then we can become actually free. We can rise above the modes of material nature. Just like Arjuna was in the beginning on his own trying to take the ownership, trying to take the responsibility that no, I'm not going to fight, they are my teachers, grandfather, so on and so forth. But when he started acting under the direction of Krishna, he went above any proprietorship, any responsibility of killing them. And so this is actual bhakti mysticism of how when one starts acting according to the directions of Krishna, whatever one does in this material plane of existence one is not really influenced or affected by one's actions. One can act completely under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one will not get influenced by the modes of nature. And when we act in that way of fully living in accordance with the rules and regulations and practices of devotional service, then we can come to an understanding that actually Krishna is the supreme proprietor and not us. That Krishna is actually the supreme beneficiary of all living entities and not us. Krishna is the actual well-wisher of all living entities and not us. And through that, one can attain real freedom, one can attain real happiness and pleasure. Thank you very much. Any comments by senior devotees? Yes, Prabhu. Well, as Prabhupada would say, if you want to share Krishna consciousness with people who are materially very well-to-do, you place them on a high seat, place them in the seat of a Supreme Court judge, and then you start telling them how fool they are, how ignorant they are in their pursuit of happiness and success. Of course, we have to be sensitive, especially in this current social atmosphere. One thing that I remember S.P. Keshav Maharaj told me was, nowadays nobody is very smart and intelligent in understanding the philosophy. Manda sumanda mateo. Everyone is really dumb, have no spaced out, have no inclination, no proclivity for understanding what is real purpose in life, what is real success. And so he told me that nowadays the way to preach is just be a real example for them. Show in your own behavior, in your own lifestyle, in your own activities, how a person who is living these teachings, how their own life is, or how their own lifestyle is. And just by that, one will get attracted, one will get influenced into questioning, inquiring, what is it that you do that, you look really happy, you look really satisfied? Because other than that, we might find few handful of them who are philosophically inclined, who want to understand why they are struggling, why they are suffering. But for most of them, they are just absorbed, immersed in illusion, in arrogance and pride. So that would be my humble response. Okay, we'll stop there. Srila Prabhupada ki